Okay, next we go to agenda item number 2. We're gonna have staff engineer present class 2 bike lanes and chicanes on Gateway Road. Gonna go and present, I think we usually, yes. We have to see face to face.
You have to cycle through the charts too, so.
Yes.
And I have control over the PowerPoint as well, so I think. Good evening. A couple of meetings ago, the request was made to look at gateway chicanes that were installed earlier this year. And myself, I did part of the work, but I have to give credit to Mr. John Kim, who is my senior engineer also in the back, and he can chime in if I forget or miss anything or leave out any items. Basically, the Gateway Road is classified as a local neighborhood.
Push F5, we'll get the slideshow. Or that one.
Here we go. The Gateway Road is classified as a local neighborhood street in the mobility element. It is fully improved with sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and street lighting on both sides of the street. The roadway is about 52 feet wide and has posted speed limit of 40 miles per hour. That was done based on an engineering and traffic survey dated back in November of 2015. The roadway has one vehicle travel lane in each direction and separated by two-way left turn lanes. On-street parking is prohibited, and there are painted Class 2 bike lanes on either side of the street. This was in the past. And earlier this year, as part of the development project, known as Uptown Brassy Lots 1 to 4, a set of two chicanes were added to Gateway to basically as a traffic calming measure per City Council's direction. The chicanes are located on either side of the Innovation Way and utilize striping, raised medians to create a curvilinear path, as you see in some of the pictures that I present here, and you have copies of them in your packet. The question had been raised whether having a Class 2 bike lanes separated by chicanes or from the traffic is appropriate or not. We could, from the engineering point of view and safety, we couldn't find anything illegal about them or improper. It actually protects the bicyclist even more because it will be separate from the main traffic. We don't definitely want a bicyclist to be going through the chicane along with traffic and getting hit. We haven't heard any complaints going back quickly, I have a couple of handouts basically defining different Class 1 through 4 bike facilities from the state, and I used one of the another handout from City of Oakland that you have in your packet. I removed the name of the city on the slide presentation. Basically, I don't want to go through and define each one. I'm sure you've seen it many times in the past. So there are Class 1 through Class 4. And these, we can call them Class 2 in most of the way, and the area of the chicane could become Class 4. There are, for the safety of the bicyclist, it is advisable to just keep it as is. I did not find anything in California MUTCD or NACTO, the Bikeway Design Guidelines, signing and markings that these are prohibited or are not allowed. Preserving the existing bike path along the curb line deemed to be the best interest of the safety of the bicyclist. Just additional information, we had one complaint from a resident 3 months ago when I had just started working here. She was not happy with the chicanes because that's the path she was using to go to the store, and she didn't want to slow down to get to the store. And we had a nice, long, colorful conversation on site. She hasn't called back. She doesn't even live in the area. She lives somewhere else. She just comes to go to the shopping center to shop, and she didn't want to be, slowing down. There are no reported incidents or crashes that I have, and I don't know, maybe Lieutenant Calderwood can add if there were any crashes been reported or not. The few tire marks on chicanes are visible, that meaning somebody going too fast probably missed a little bit and hit the curbs a little bit. But I've driven it several times, and the nice sedan or average car can take it at 25, even though we have advisory speed on it at 15 miles an hour. We will continue to monitor this segment of Gateway Road, make sure if there are any adjustments or markings, revisions needed, we will do that.
Do we have a traffic count on this road? Is it populated?
I'm sure we do. John, do we have any information?
I don't have it on, but I can check to see if we have any filing records for Gateway Road. I don't have it with me.
No, it's okay. I was just wondering, it doesn't seem to me very popular road, but that's just to my knowledge. I don't know if anybody else.
My estimates are in less than 3,000 cars a day. That's, again, just
Bicyclists,
purely,
they choose this road versus other roads, the bicyclists?
I've seen one bicyclist the day I was there when I was talking to the resident there, and they use the bike lane as they normally do.
That section where the chicane is, that's between Bressy Ranch and where Biostat is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, any other question? Commissioner Hunter.
Question, if the survey posted at 40, and that's what we're supposed to be going to, how do we put up a 15-mile-per-hour sign?
It is,
Put up chicanes on there?
it is an advisory speed, so
Yes, other sign.
that's not a regulatory sign. Again, that was one of the questions I asked first when I came here to say, we have a chicane on a street that is posted 40, but because of the traffic calming and because of the city council's direction, the chicanes were placed, and to the safe maneuvering purposes, I think the advisory speed was added to make sure somebody does not just go through without following, at least being warned to some degree.
I live here, I've gone through there several times, and I think they work great. You don't have to slow down, but, well, I don't have to slow down anyway, but they work great. Most people do slow down.
Yeah.
So it's only advisory, so I'm good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, just checking.
Commissioner Fowler.
Oh.
You have a question?
So I guess I'm like the complaining lady, right? I shop at Trader Joe's, and that's how I get there, and I've noticed the scuff marks and things like that. Just a general, I don't want to hijack it, so this issue is about bikes, but I am interested in the chicanes and the reasoning to put them there. And they were put there by a developer of property adjacent to the street, or who decided it?
My recollection and the information that I received, again, this was about 3-4 months ago when I came, I was advised that it was a city council's decision based on the complaints that area residents had about potential speeding in the area. And whether because it was a straight shot, I'm sure the speeds were in the 40, 45 mile an hour.
To prevent drag racing or,
And then I'm sure people crossing the street from one side of the street to go to the shopping center or back.
Well,
There are multiple locations to cross safely to.
You must have some good sales in that store if everybody's in such a hurry to get to the store.
yeah, right, they gotta get those free samples at Trader Joe's, that's compelling, I'll tell you. I can't help but to think that traffic calming of this, so if the street is rated at 40 miles an hour and you put this thing there that is, and I didn't realize, I don't think I noticed, frankly, I don't think I've noticed the 15 mile an hour. So
Many people
you should be
don't.
able to get, yes, so you should be able to get through there at 25 miles an hour. You've slowed, it's clearly.
I have driven at about 28 and
Yeah.
it comfortably, I mean.
And
if
is
you-
there a design parameter for a chicane like that to?
Well, I
safely
think
navigate?
the advisory speeds are usually, again, it's advisory, also taking into account larger vehicles like a truck or a school bus or, the vehicle of that magnitude going through there. If you're in a sedan, low-lying car going at 25, 28 miles an hour, you don't feel anything because you're navigating, there is enough width to navigate closely. But, if you're in a landscape truck, an RV, or a garbage truck may not be able to navigate that at 35, 40 mile an hour.
So, I guess, I don't, this is without a point, and I don't mean to waste time, but I am interested. So one function it does have is you can tell people where there's traffic calming of the type that they might be interested in having in their own neighborhood, like a chicane. Are there any other chicanes?
This is the only one in
The only one in
Carlsbad.
Carlsbad, like the pillows, there's only a couple of pillows.
Right.
Speed pillows. Okay, thank you.
Any other question?
Yeah. Do you know the width between the curb and the white striping for the bicycle lane?
I believe there are 6 feet.
6 feet, okay. And then I understand that posted 15 miles per hour for a cyclist. Is there anything before that lets you know that there's an island coming? So that say if you have a 2 abreast cycling route that they need to go into a single file, or if they see that, they might.
I'm not aware of any such sign. I have not seen it, but I'm open to if you see or anybody suggest a sign that might advise or a bicyclist, because
Yeah.
typically, again, the bicyclists are lower speed. They have more perception reaction times, and the street is pretty well lit, even at night. So we rely on if there are. Usually, we hear within a month if there is a problem with the bicyclists, because they're pretty adamant about letting us know.
And then in regards to for vehicles, in the past, I believe this is a pretty long straightaway, right?
It's about a mile or so.
Has there been any history in the past with racing or anything like that? Is that?
I'm not aware of it, but again, I'll yield to John if he has heard anything, if he has any feedback.
I think we got the nods from the client, so we believe.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, good, now we can move to the next item.
I didn't bring my other stuff.
There you go. Getting a little hot.